first-time crazy history and beautiful places to visit in Canada.
In the world, there are unique places, rich in culture, unspoiled nature, and congenial to travelers. Welcome to Canada, one of the world's largest and most livable countries. It is a culturally diverse nation, with people of British and French origins being predominant. Canada has a population of about 34 million people, over one-third of which live in the country's three largest cities, Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. Canada's sophisticated, cordial cities are national treasures, with major attractions. Every one of Canada's 10 provinces and 3 territories has something special to offer visitors. From wildlife tours and fishing in the north, to kayaking and nature tours in the Maritimes, from skiing and snowboarding in British Columbia, to enjoying the resorts and culture of Quebec, from canoeing and sightseeing in Ontario, to exploring unique areas and museums on the prairies. The variety of scenic beauty is absolutely breathtaking. The Horseshoe Falls in Niagara Falls, Ontario, is one of the world's most impressive and voluminous waterfalls. The Canadian Rockies is a vast protected wilderness area with numerous recreational and scenic attractions. Canada is a country with many blessings. By total area, including its territorial waters, Canada is the second largest country in the world. It has the world's longest coastline, 243,000 kilometers, with oceans on 3 sides, the Pacific in the west, Atlantic in the east, and Arctic in the north. The Canadian Shield is a huge joint bedrock region in eastern and central Canada that covers over half the country. This pervasive area of Precambrian metamorphic rock was scoured clean by continental glaciers during the last ice age, leaving most of northern Canada thinly soiled, rich in minerals, and dotted with lakes and rivers. Canada has far more lakes than any other country, with about 25% of the world's fresh water, including the 5 Great Lakes, which form the largest surface freshwater system on Earth. Traveling west, Canada flattens into an enormous prairie region over 1,000 miles wide, then rises into a series of mountain ranges, beginning with the Alberta Rockies and ending with the mammoth coast mountains of British Columbia and the Yukon Territory. The name Canada has been in use since the earliest European settlements and comes from the Huron and Iroquois First Nations word Kanata, meaning village. Canada became a country in 1867 with the passing of the British North America Act by Great Britain, who had won the whole eastern half of what is now North America by defeating France in the 7 Years' War in 1763. This act, with its subsequent amendments, embodied the written Constitution of Canada for more than a century. The first Prime Minister of Canada was Sir John A. Macdonald, who brought British Columbia into the Confederation in 1871 and began construction of the Transcontinental Railway. Newfoundland was the last province to join Canada in 1949. Canada is now one of the world's wealthiest nations, with a high per capita income, oil and gas reserves second only to Saudi Arabia, and a special economic status as a member of the G8 group of 8 nations. Newfoundland and Labrador is Canada's easternmost province, comprising the island of Newfoundland at the mouth of the Gulf of St. Lawrence and much larger Labrador on the North American mainland to the northwest. About 1/3 of the total population of 508,000 people live on the Avalon Peninsula, on the island's eastern shores. The capital city, St. John's, has a metro area population of 185,000 and is a small but busy modern metropolis. Newfoundland's northeast coast is famous for whale and iceberg watching, with almost 50 tour boats taking visitors to see these natural wonders. Seabirds are also popular attractions, with millions nesting here each summer to raise their young. Cape St. Mary's Ecological Reserve on the southern Avalon has a clifftop lookout next to several thousand northern gannets nesting only 15 meters away. Nova Scotia occupies a large mainland peninsula and includes Cape Breton Island and about 3,800 small coastal islands. The Cabot Trail on Cape Breton Island is one of Canada's most scenic coastal drives. Over 1/3 of the 947,000 people living in Nova Scotia live close to the capital and largest city, Halifax. The city surrounds a large protected harbor with a naval base and is a leading North American container port. The city is on the site of Canada's first permanent British settlement established in 1749. Situated on a hill overlooking the harbor is the Halifax Citadel National Historic Site, which was the 4th and last British naval station completed in 1856. Halifax has the world's longest harborfront boardwalk, linking the cruise ship terminal to the historic downtown, with superb shopping, fine restaurants, and sidewalk cafes along the way. Just west of Halifax is Peggy's Cove, a well-known fishing village with a picturesque lighthouse. A little bit further west, also along the south shore of Nova Scotia, is the popular historic town of Lunenburg. It is home port to the Blue Nose II, a 44-meter schooner which visits Halifax, the East Coast, Quebec, Ontario, and other ports throughout the province. It is the sister ship to the original Blue Nose, which won the International Fisherman's Trophy race 18 years in a row. The 13-kilometer-long Confederation Bridge links Prince Edward Island to the mainland across the Northumberland Strait. PEI is Canada's smallest and least populated province, 140,000 inhabitants on an island 224 kilometers long. Tourism is the province's second largest industry, and the capital city, Charlottetown, is a very visitor-friendly place. A main attraction of the island is its more than 90 secluded beaches that encircle the island. Tourists come from around the world to visit Green Gables House, a museum about L.M. Montgomery, author of the Anne of Green Gables books. New Brunswick has a population of about 760,000 people, and its main industry is forestry. The largest city in the province is St. John, located on the Fundy Coastal Drive. The Bay of Fundy, between New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, experiences the world's highest tides, averaging 14 to 15 meters. In St. John, the bay tides rise 4.5 meters, creating a phenomenon called the reversing falls. At low tide, thunderous rapids become a site for jet boat rides. This phenomenon is caused by the southward flow of the St. John River meeting the incoming tides of the Bay of Fundy. At Hopewell Cape, the Hopewell Rocks Park is a popular location to explore the flowerpot rock formations created by the tides. This can be done starting 3 hours before low tide to 3 hours after low tide. When the tide rises, it's time to take to the water for some of the best sea kayaking Canada has to offer. New Brunswick has some stunning beaches on its east coast, especially near the city of Moncton, at the coastal town of Shediac. One of Moncton's attractions is Magnetic Hill, a very curious optical illusion where cars are pulled uphill. Quebec is Canada's largest province and is predominantly French-speaking, with a total population of 7.6 million inhabitants. The capital is Quebec City, located on the St. Lawrence River. It is one of the oldest and most beautiful cities in the country. The magnificent Fairmont Chateau Frontenac first opened in 1893. It is one of Canada's finest hotels. The Plains of Abraham is a large grassy field high above the St. Lawrence, where the decisive battle that led to British control of Quebec took place in 1759. The Citadel is a huge old fort that can be toured. The main attraction of the city is Old Quebec, an historic walking area full of fine restaurants, cafes, and shops. The Quebecois people are some of the most gracious and culturally advanced in the country. There are several outstanding attractions located within a short drive of Quebec City. Montmorency Falls is the highest in Quebec at 83 meters, over 1.5 times as high as Niagara Falls. Sainte-Anne-de-Beaupré Basilica is a famous Catholic landmark whose earliest buildings were constructed in the 17th century. Quebec's largest city is Montreal. Over half the population of the province lives here. The city is located along the St. Lawrence River, where it widens into fast-flowing rapids. The city is named after the low-lying mountain that it has grown up around. On the summit of Mount Royal is a large park with a panoramic view of the city. Like Quebec City, Old Montreal is very European in character, with cobblestone streets, a cafe culture, and historic 17th and 18th century architecture. Old Montreal's Notre Dame Basilica is a neo-Gothic building dating from 1829. Visitors can go strolling or biking along the waterfront at the Old Port, where a variety of boat cruises are also offered. Montreal's Olympic Stadium was built as the main venue for the 1976 Summer Olympics. Next to the stadium is the Montreal Biodome, a large nature museum representing 4 ecosystems from the Americas. The province of Ontario is Canada's most populated province, with about 12.6 million people. Most people live in the south in the fertile Great Lakes St. Lawrence lowlands. It is a beautiful province covered with forests and over 250,000 lakes. The central Muskoka Cottage region and Algonquin Provincial Park are especially popular wilderness recreational areas. Another popular destination, especially for scenic boat cruises, is the beautiful Thousand Islands recreational area located around Gananoque, where the St. Lawrence River begins. Canada's capital city, Ottawa, is located on the Ottawa River, which forms part of Ontario's eastern boundary with Quebec. The city of Ottawa has a population of about 880,000. The National Capital Region, which includes Ottawa and Gatineau, Quebec, has many museums, most notably the Canadian Museum of Civilization and the Canadian War Museum. Ottawa is also home to the National Gallery of Canada, which features the work of both Canadian and international artists. The Grand Fairmont Chateau Laurier is one of the city's premier hotels. On Parliament Hill, 3 Gothic Revival-style buildings stand on a 170-foot bluff overlooking the Ottawa River. They house the offices of the Members of Parliament, the House of Commons, and the Senate. Guided tours of the Centre Block delve into Canadian history and explain the workings of the political system. The Ceremonial Guard of the Canadian Forces brings stirring military drills and music to Parliament Hill once every day during the summer, with a changing of the guard ceremony. Adjacent to Parliament Hill is Sparks Street Mall, a heritage shopping and dining street. The Byward Market is a traditional farmers market surrounding a 2-story building of boutiques, bistros, and restaurants. Canada's largest city and Ontario's capital is Toronto. Toronto is the 5th largest city in North America, stretching 43 kilometers along the north shore of Lake Ontario, covering 641 square kilometers. There are 2.8 million people living in the city, 5 million in the Greater Toronto Area, and 11 million living within a 2-hour drive. Architecturally, Toronto's downtown offers incredible contrasts, from gleaming skyscrapers to brick historical buildings. The Fairmont Royal York Hotel opened in 1929. The CN Tower is Canada's national tower, and at 553 meters tall, it is the world's tallest freestanding tower. The tower is a national landmark that is visited by about 2 million people from all over the world each year. Toronto is home to Canada's largest museum, the Royal Ontario Museum. The Toronto Zoo is Canada's largest zoo and one of the city's most popular attractions. Casa Loma is a medieval-style castle open to the public that was constructed at great expense in 1911 by Canadian financier, industrialist, and military man Sir Henry Pillatt. Ontario Place is a huge family fun park located on the lakeshore. One of the best ways to get around and get to know the city is by taking a jump on and jump off open-top double-decker sightseeing bus. Toronto Hippo Tours takes visitors to Toronto's major landmarks in a bus that floats. The water portion of the tour takes passengers through Ontario Place. Historic Black Creek Pioneer Village is a journey back in time to a typical crossroads community found in the Toronto area during the 1800s. Just a short drive north of Toronto, near Kleinburg, is the world-famous McMichael Canadian Art Collection. The galleries consist of almost 6,100% Canadian artworks by the famous Group of Seven, their contemporaries, Tom Thompson, First Nations, and Inuit artists. Less than 2 hours drive west of Toronto is Canada's top tourist attraction, Niagara Falls. The falls is located on the beautiful Niagara River, which flows 58 kilometers north from Lake Erie to Lake Ontario through the Great Gorge. At the city of Niagara Falls, the flow of the river is split by Goat Island into two separate spillways, creating two large, beautiful waterfalls, one on the American side of the river and the other on the Canadian side, called the Horseshoe Falls. It is the larger and higher Horseshoe Falls that receives most of the attention. The Horseshoe Falls is an average 57 meters high, accounting for half the elevation drop from Lake Erie to Lake Ontario. The crest line of the Canadian Horseshoe Falls is 670 meters wide. The height of the American Falls ranges from 21 to 34 meters before reaching a talus slope of huge fallen rocks that were deposited by a massive rock slide in 1954. It's a romantic spot, which attracts about 50,000 honeymooners each year. The beauty and power of the falls can be experienced from many surrounding public lookout points, especially the Table Rock at the very edge of the falls. There are more spectacular views from the Skylon Tower, the journey behind the falls, and Niagara helicopter tours. The Maid of the Mist is the area's longest standing tradition and most popular way to get up close to the falls. The Niagara River Gorge is as exciting as the falls. The Whirlpool Aero Car takes visitors over the largest whirlpool in the world. Niagara Falls is far more than a natural phenomenon. The city has many fun, exciting attractions like Clifton Hill, Bird Kingdom, Butterfly Conservatory, and of course, Marine Land, one of the area's largest and longest running favorites. East along the Niagara Parkway from Niagara Falls is Niagara on the Lake, one of Ontario's most hospitable and attractive towns. No visit to Niagara on the Lake is complete without a tour of the venerable Fort George National Historic Site of Canada. It was a key fortress in the War of 1812 when the fledgling United States Army fought British loyalists for the new lands that would become Canada. Manitoba has a population of 1.2 million people, 707,000 of which live in its capital city, Winnipeg. city's main tourist area is the Forks, a 23-hectare riverside development in the heart of downtown Winnipeg. It includes shops, restaurants, a market, and a children's museum, all surrounded by parks, promenades, gardens, and sculptures. It is named the Forks because it is the place where the Assiniboine River flows into the Red River. Many scenic boat tours are offered up and down the rivers. Assiniboine Park is 445 hectares of parklands, gardens, and a zoo. Lower Fort Garry National Historic Site of Canada is the oldest stone 19th century fur trading post still intact in North America. The province of Saskatchewan is heavily forested in the north, with many lakes and rivers. The south is mostly flat prairie land, where over 54% of Canada's wheat crop is grown. The province is home to about 1 million people, and the capital city is Regina. The provincial legislative buildings are located on Wascana Lake, which is one of the city's most scenic recreational areas. The city's attractions include art galleries and the Royal Saskatchewan Museum, which has permanent life sciences, earth sciences, and First Nations galleries. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police Heritage Centre is a training facility and museum open to the public. Rising out of the prairie far south of the province is one of Saskatchewan's most beautiful and popular vacation wilderness areas, the Cypress Hills. This elevated pine and spruce forested park straddles the western provincial boundary with Alberta. Deep in the hills is the Fort Walsh National Historic Site. It was a trading post, and the Northwest Mounted Police's western headquarters established in 1878 following the massacre of Nakota natives over a misunderstanding about a missing horse. Alberta has a population of 3.2 million people, more than half of which live in the two largest cities, Edmonton and Calgary. The province is referred to as Canada's energy province because of its immense oil and gas resources. Alberta's landscape is mostly prairie in the east and the huge Rocky Mountain Range in the west. Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump is a place in the foothills where native people of the North American plains used to kill bison for food and clothing by chasing them over a precipice. An interpretive center, built unobtrusively into the ancient sandstone cliff, details how this practice went on for almost 6,000 years until the arrival of Europeans in North America wiped out the herds. The eastern Alberta Badlands of the Drumheller Valley of Dinosaur Provincial Park offer spectacular scenery and activities. Several hundred complete dinosaur skeletons have been excavated from the Badlands. The Royal Tyrrell Museum in Drumhill has gigantic dinosaur skeletons and other fossil displays. It is Canada's only institution devoted entirely to paleontology. The capital of Alberta is Edmonton. The Royal Alberta Museum has permanent Aboriginal culture, natural history, and wild Alberta galleries. One of the province's premier attractions is the West Edmonton Mall, the world's largest mixed entertainment complex and shopping center. The city of Calgary is the corporate head office capital of Canada. The landmark Calgary Tower is a revolving restaurant and an observation deck featuring a glass floor. Canada Olympic Park is a ski hill in the winter and a mountain biking park in the summer. It was a premier venue for the 15th Olympic Winter Games held in Calgary in 1988, and it still has bobsleigh, skeleton, and luge facilities. It also features North America's fastest zip line. Just an hour's drive from Calgary is Canada's most popular park, Banff National Park. It contains over 6,500 square kilometers of wilderness surrounding the beautiful Bow River Valley, where the town of Banff is located. The town is a tourist hotspot with a great variety of amenities and excellent accommodation, like the world-renowned Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel. Just 5 minutes from the town is the Banff Gondola, where visitors can ride to the top of Sulphur Mountain to enjoy a 360-degree view of 6 mountain ranges. The 1 kilometer-long elevated Summit Ridge Interpretive Boardwalk leads visitors along Sulphur Mountain's Summit Ridge to higher viewpoints and the historic Samson's Peak Meteorological Station. Just a 15-minute drive from the town of Banff is beautiful Lake Minnewanka, where tour boats depart several times daily from mid-May to mid-October for a 1.5-hour cruise of the surrounding area. Along the scenic Bow Valley Parkway is one of the most popular hikes in Banff National Park, Johnston Canyon. Lake Louise's turquoise water, shimmering beneath the Victoria Glacier, is an iconic scene of the Canadian Rockies. On the lake's eastern shore is the Fairmont Chateau Lake Louise, a Rockies landmark with a history going back to 1890. Across the valley, visitors can enjoy riding the Lake Louise sightseeing gondola. Lake Louise is at the southern end of the Icefields Parkway, which follows the Great Divide. This 230-kilometer long modern highway follows the Continental Divide from Lake Louise to the town of Jasper, through some of the most spectacular mountain landscapes on Earth. In the south, Bow Lake and Peyto Lake are popular hiking and sightseeing areas. East of the crossing, along Highway 11, is Icefield Helicopter Tours, where visitors can go up for a bird's eye view of this incredible area. About halfway up the parkway, on the boundary between Banff and Jasper National Parks, is Brewster's Ice Age Adventure. Visitors ride in specially designed Brewster Ice Explorer vehicles to the middle of the Athabasca Glacier, where they have the opportunity to step out onto the ice. In the north of the parkway are two waterfalls, Sunwapta and Athabasca Falls, as well as the spectacular Mount Edith Cavell hiking area. Wildlife is abundant, and animal encounters are common, so visitors must exercise caution and maintain a safe distance. The friendly, accommodating town of Jasper is nestled in the wide Athabasca Valley. Only a 10-minute drive from the town is the Jasper Tramway, which transports visitors into the high Alpine in just 7 minutes. The upper station is at 2,277 meters above sea level and has a restaurant, gift shop, and observation decks. The best viewing is in early morning or evening. East of Jasper townsite is Moline Canyon, where visitors can hike around a narrow canyon that reaches depths of 50 meters. No trip to the Canadian Rockies is complete without a boat cruise to world-famous Spirit Island on Maligne Lake. British Columbia is a mostly mountainous province with more than 1,000 miles of rugged Pacific coastline. It is home to more than 4.2 million people. In the southeast of the province is the beautiful Columbia Valley. The Hot Springs Mineral Pool at Radium Hot Springs is the most popular attraction in the area. The Rocky Mountains don't end in Alberta. British Columbia's Yoho National Park has spectacular waterfalls, mountain lakes, and soaring peaks. British Columbia is the world's leading helicopter skiing region. The province is also a world leader in cat skiing, which is a newer, less expensive, and equally enjoyable way of accessing untracked, deep, dry powder snow. Chatter Creek Mountain Lodges has 627 square kilometers of spectacular backcountry cat and helicopter ski terrain near the Columbia Icefield in the Rocky Mountains. In the southwest corner of the province, surrounded by rugged mountains and Pacific coast, is British Columbia's largest and Canada's third largest city, Vancouver. Greater Vancouver has a population of approximately 3 million people. The city is a unique mixture of urban development flanked by natural park areas. Stanley Park is a 400-hectare natural park located right next to the downtown. The 8.8-kilometer seawalk is the park's most scenic and popular walking, biking, jogging, and rollerblading route. The Totem Pole display area at Brockton Point is the most visited tourist attraction in all of British Columbia. Prospect Point is a high lookout offering panoramic views of the North Shore Mountains, the Lions Gate Bridge, and Burrard Inlet. Located in the heart of the park is Canada's National Aquarium, the Vancouver Aquarium Marine Science Centre. Vancouver began in 1867 as a Wild West settlement called Gastown, started by a colorful character named Gassy Jack Dayton, who ran the local saloon. Today, Gastown is a heritage district of fine restaurants, nightclubs, unique shops, and a steam-powered club. The Vancouver Lookout atop Harbour Centre whisks visitors high above the city streets via glass-enclosed elevators for a 360-degree view of the downtown and surrounding area. Granville Island has a large public market, fine restaurants, theaters, bars, and art shops, all in a scenic location along the waterfront. On the other side of Burrard Inlet, in North Vancouver, are two of the city's most popular attractions. The Capilano Suspension Bridge is Vancouver's oldest tourist attraction. The bridge spans 137 meters across Capilano Canyon, suspended 70 meters above the Capilano River. Across the bridge are beautiful nature trails through giant Douglas fir and cedar forests. The Grouse Mountain Aerial Skyway takes visitors on a 1-mile journey to a high mountain plateau overlooking the city of Vancouver, the Fraser Valley, and the Strait of Georgia. The Refuge for Endangered Wildlife at the top of Grouse Mountain is a 5-acre mountain habitat that is home to 2 orphan grizzly bears. Vancouver and Whistler to the north are home to the 2010 Winter Olympics. Whistler Blackcomb is the largest downhill ski area in North America, with 1.6 kilometers of vertical and 3,200 hectares of terrain on 2 mountains. Vancouver Island is the largest island on the west coast of North America. It offers a special mixture of unspoiled wilderness and culture. Long Beach, between the towns of Ucluelet and Tofino in Pacific Rim National Park, is the island's most popular recreational area. On the south coast of Vancouver Island is British Columbia's capital city, Victoria. It is known as the Garden City because of its mild climate, beauty, and Old English charm. The Fairmont Empress Hotel is a landmark, capturing the grandeur and elegance of a bygone era. Many attractions are found around the Inner Harbour area, where the Parliament buildings are located, including Government Street, the Royal BC Museum, Undersea Gardens, and the Royal London Wax Museum. Prince of Wales whale watching excursions leave Victoria's Inner Harbour on a regular schedule throughout the spring, summer, and fall. Wildlife cruises search for orcas, gray whales, minke whales, humpbacks, dolphins, porpoises, and sea lion colonies. Vancouver Island's most popular attraction is the Butch Art Gardens, receiving close to 1 million visitors annually. The dramatic sunken garden began in the years following 1904, when Jenny Butchart, wife of Portland cement baron Robert Pym Butchart, began to beautify a depleted limestone quarry on their property. There are now 22 hectares of planted gardens. Canada's Northern Territories are the Yukon in the west, the Northwest Territories, and the new territory of Nunavut, created in 1999 in the east. Wilderness adventures and fishing are major attractions. The far north is truly otherworldly, with unique landscapes and wildlife. Canada is truly one of the world's great countries, culturally rich, full of natural beauty, and inhabited by peaceful, warm-hearted people welcoming all the world.
Please subscribe my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.